So we are here to talk about the new Nintendo 2DS XL. Jesus Christ.
Which, as of right now, is number 20 on trending YouTube videos.
Yeah. So actually, I'll just have this play in the background as we kind of have to talk about it.
Hold on.
Oh. What are you trying to do?
I'm going to throw on subtitles.
Oh, there are no subtitles. Yeah.
Are there no words for it?
Yeah, there's no words for it. It's just, it's just music playing in the background like so. But yeah, so this came out of nowhere. It's a new design for the 2DS. It went back to like a folding dynamic.
Yeah.
Ergonomic, as they call it.
Ergonomic folding design.
I actually like the design of it, actually.
Yeah.
It looks like an iPhone just strapped to the bottom portion of a 3DS.
For me, it feels very Nintendo. Like their games are very like soft and rounded. And this kind of matches it, and I like it.
I like it too. It does have that soft feel. It has something to do with like the curves of it, as well as like their choice in colors here. But yeah, it's so weird how they decided to come out with this just without any kind of affirmation mention of it.
Like I'm still looking at it. I'm still like talking about the design and everything.
Yeah.
But I think it's like the color, the matte black that they used for it. It makes it look soft. It makes it look like it's made out of like a rubber.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they could actually use that like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's so weird because we were actually doing a live stream of this, and someone in the comments, I think it was Alex Martinez, who was talking about like, you want to talk, please have like a talk about the 2DS, and thankfully I wanted to do that anyway. Mm-hmm. But I kind of understood like what he was saying afterward. He was saying that this just feels like a 3DS, which I understand what he means by that, because the original 2DS had no folding design to it. It was just very like
it was
flat.
A block.
It was a block. But
that's the one discrepancy I had with it, is that it was bulky.
Yeah.
And it couldn't get smaller.
Yeah.
Every dual screen handheld that they've created folded. Mm-hmm. It could fold on itself. That way it's more portable. And that one they decided, well, fuck the portability. We'll just...
Yeah. It was kind of like a step back. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like...
It was a hard step back.
Yeah. It's kind of like... this is kind of different, but like the Game Boy Advance, and then like ups to like the Game Boy SP, and then they had the Game Boy Micro. Which I still have never like played that in my life, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, I can understand like why people like see the 2DS as just like more of a block than like something folding. But yeah, we have to understand that the whole purpose of a 2DS is just to take away the 3D. Everything else there is how it is.
It's supposed to be a good handheld, not a gimmicky one.
Not a gimmicky one. I mean, I still use it in 3D, and it's actually pretty impressive as it shows, but for the most part, I just keep it off. So.
Yeah, I don't see how it improves the experience of it. Like, I've played it with 3D on, 3D off on other people's, and even before I had the 2DS and kind of threw myself into a bias, but even before then, I was playing, I'm like...
Yeah, it's just a gimmick.
It's not all that great. With 3D, it at this point kind of has to be VR, or to a lesser extent, like if not VR, then AR. So AR games would probably be a big step up, and then VR games are kind of the middle ground. It's a bit more expensive and it's more immersive, but I think it's a step back from AR games.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that's what they want to do next, like Nintendo 3DS VR, 3DS VR. Like, whoa!
Because what's it called? That's why I liked some of the games for the 2DS that are like little apps on there, like the Face Blaster and all that. Mm-hmm. They're AR games. I like that because it puts the world into a game instead of making the game a world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I don't know. 3D just doesn't do it anymore. And I don't think that even as a gimmick, it's really too gimmicky. It's more of a superfluous design.
When the market is now being filled with like VR games, like 3D, although has a different effect than VR does at times. I feel that there's just not enough 3D to actually go around anymore. Because like we had like those 3D TVs, but those are gone. Actually.
Yeah, people saw them very gimmicky and thought, it's an expensive feature that you don't care for.
Yeah, so that's probably one of the reasons why they're coming out with the 2DS, not just to make a statement as to say like we're still supporting like 3DS titles and games to come out. We're just making a new design for people who don't want to really spend the extra money into just the 3D functionality of it. So I think that definitely the big question is why are we having like the 2DS XL? But I think in actuality, this is probably the best way to go about it if they want to continue making 3DS games.
Yeah. Them making the 2DS XL was kind of a statement after the Switch launch saying, just because it's portable doesn't mean we're giving up on our mobile market.
That's true. And they are definitely like catering towards mobile, like from just like the games like Mario Run or Fire Emblem Heroes.
I should have said handheld instead of mobile. Yeah.
Okay, but it's still like pretty mobile too. Like the fact it's portable.
Yeah.
Pretty much the key word, portable. Just having that there, I have an issue though. Like if they're going to continue making 3DS games, 3DS is always going to be tagged onto it, and so they'll have to spend extra money just to incorporate the 3D, and I don't know how much that is, but I'm pretty sure if they just kept selling like 2DSs and stuff, they'd probably have to change the name or just, I guess, come up with a new handheld console that just kind of, I guess, like boosts like, I guess, graphics and just like gameplay in general, but without 3D. So I feel like that might be the next step they want to do.
What they should do, and which would be a good idea, is they have the Switch, right? Yeah. They have the 2DS and 3DS. And they should make the design flaw that I see that they did was they didn't make the 2DS and 3DS games compatible for the Switch. If they had made the cartridges interchangeable, it may not have helped the bottom line immediately, but I feel it may have drastically increased the number of sales all around the board, because people will be willing to buy the Switch just because it's the new console. And they could keep buying every game. They will buy all the console games. They will buy all the handheld games. And who cares about the mobile market? That's mainly off of microtransactions, so that doesn't really matter. But on top of that, if they kept everything interchangeable, then the 3DS would have been for the middle market. People that can't afford the console, but still enjoy like playing all these games and they like the 3D functionality. So they would be able to play all the console games on there. Granted, it would have to be able to emulate itself in a lower quality to be able to be played on there. But if they were able to make that functionality for it, it would be great. Because people would still buy the quote-unquote console games at that time. So they're still selling every game under the sun. And then they have the 2DS, which is for the lower market. People that still play games off of more than just their phone. But they're still giving the money to Nintendo, and they're still buying all the games if they're all interchangeable. So
I guess what you're trying to say is that like maybe the 3DS itself should like try to incorporate itself like with the Switch as far as like game function, or at least I guess gameplay interchangeable, something like that. Is that what you're trying to say? Like
I'm trying to say that the Switch cartridges don't go into, you can't fit them into a 2D or 3DS, right?
But the 3DS can go into the Switch?
No, I'm just saying like outright, like right now, the way life is right now, you couldn't like it doesn't fit in there, right?
It won't. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if they had made it to where they were made on the same type of cartridge, that way you could put them into each other.
Oh, okay.
So you have your Switch at home. You could take your
3DS, or
let's say your Smash Brothers for the 3DS. You could put that into your Switch and play it on there.
Oh, okay.
You could play your handheld games on the console, and you could play your console games on the handhelds, just because they fit and they're interchangeable. That's what I was saying.
I guess so, but I don't know, because the distinguishing factor between the two is the fact that the 3DS has like the 3D and the two screens, but it has its own like limited, like
it has a very limited power.
Power.
That's why I was saying it's a bit more of a technological jump to be able to make the cartridges be able to emulate themselves in a lower level.
And also at the same time, like you can consider like the Switch and 3DS both portable like mini like consoles essentially. Even like the Switch can be considered like a handheld console too. So
and that's what the whole releasing the new 2DS was to say that we're not abandoning the handheld market. For those of you that have a 2DS and 3DS, we're still gonna work on that market, even though our console is also a handheld.
Yeah, I just don't think it would actually work just in this day and age right now because of like the Switch being what it is, being something it's like a hybrid between like a handheld and a home console. That it feels like it needs to have its own library of games that distinguishes itself differently from the 3DS. Because if you have these two and they have the same, you have games that can play on like either console, you'd probably want to just go with the cheaper option, and so the Switch probably wouldn't sell as well. So it's kind of weird.
It would still sell as well.
If people
are still buying the PlayStation Pro, the Xbox One S, and the Scorpio when it releases, I guess people are definitely going to buy the Switch, even though you could play it on a smaller console for cheaper. People want power when it comes to their consoles. They want to be able to play it with all the frame rates, with all the designs. They want to play it on their big screen TV. Yeah. And that's the deciding factor on why people, if they have the money, would still buy the Switch, even if you could play it on a 2DS.
Yeah, but then I also think that like the price difference between like the 3DS XL, for example, that's $200 like right off the bat, and then like the Switch is like $300. Yeah, $300, and so that doesn't feel like much of a difference between the pricing. So if the 3DS does want to continue like profiting, the price would always have to stay in that like round park.
It'd have to stay in the middle range.
Right.
And that's exactly where it falls right now. The 2DS is about $50 to $100 cheaper than the 3DS, which is about $100 cheaper than the Switch.
Yeah. And the games are like roughly around like $35 to $40, and the Switch is like $60, just like right off the bat, depending on the type of game it is. I just I like that idea, like if they were interchangeable, but I know that people want like 3DS games to play the 3DS games and Switch to play their Switch games, and not necessarily have them like interchangeable, because like as long as like the Switch has its like handheld mode, then it feels like it'd be a better investment to go with the Switch than go for a 3DS, even if they had like interchangeable like or be played on either handheld. But
sometimes you don't have the money for it.
I guess so, but at that point, it's just it becomes a competition within each other. But you
still win no matter what.
I guess so, but then there doesn't seem to be, because at that point it feels like those two might as well like just come together to become like one like sentient being the three TS. Because 3D 3 screens.
Like I said, the same argument can be said for the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, and the Scorpio, but all three are still going to sell relatively well, because they have three different price ranges. One is the regular Xbox One is for the low market. The Xbox One S would be for the mid market, and the Scorpio would be for the high market.
I guess, the Scorpio definitely for sure, because of
even though they're all
much power
able to play the same games.
Well, I'm not sure, but
they all play the same games.
Sure
the Scorpio is not going to be, we have Scorpio exclusives. It's their Xbox One exclusives.
The Xbox
it falls in the same category as the Xbox One.
Yeah, I think the difference though between like Xbox One, Xbox One S, just like the One S is like just a step above like Xbox as far as just like playing like higher resolutions. There's not otherwise too many distinguishes.
There's a small bonus of functionality, just like with the 2DS and the 3DS. There's a small bonus of functionality by adding the 3D element to it.
That's true. Although, I mean, there's really just that.
There's no difference. You could play them exactly the same on both handhelds, but one has a 3D option.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like if we were going to scale it, Xbox One S essentially is a relationship between 2DS, 3DS. Scorpio's like the Switch, except like it plays like at a higher like resolution.
Yeah,
also, like,
just like the Switch, it plays at a more it plays at an unfair advantage above the other two.
Yeah.
Because once you play on the Scorpio, you're basically playing on a not a top tier, but definitely a high range PC. Mm-hmm. It would probably be top tier about 2 years ago in terms of the PC market. So that's just a phenomenal kick up from the two, which would be the difference between the 3DS and the Switch. You could play on a 1080p 60 frames a second TV screen with dynamic lighting and range with high contrast and your fucking gimmicky yellow pixel TV.
And your voice recognition.
Yeah. You could play with all of that on your Switch.
Mm-hmm. I guess so.
So even though it's competing with itself, it still wins in every market because it's going to hit different people. Sure, there's going to be some people from the mid-market that are like, I can scrape a little more together and get the Switch. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you'll have people even in the high market that are like, I don't feel like wasting all of my money for that. I'll just go with the 2DS.
Mm-hmm. I see the Xbox doing its thing. I still think the 2DS, 3DS are different because of that additional screen than the Switch. Because they both have touchscreens, and that's a really cool thing. But the thing is that I guess like the Switch could be like a little bit more restricted because of the fact that you only have the one screen. You just transfer it to say a TV, and then you could bring it handheld. And of course, if like it's
I would say the only difference between the two would be instead of how you have a select menu on all of the games, you have pause and then select. You just have the bottom screen be the select menu.
The bottom screen be a select menu?
Yeah, the touch screen is your select menu.
We're still talking about 3DS.
Yeah, with the dual screen, the bottom screen can be either the select menu or just a perpetual map.
Yeah, because I was thinking like if they tried to
or they can just raise a big middle finger and be like how Breath of the Wild is and say your second screen means this much.
Yeah, because because like Breath of the Wild is like it's whatever because like. With the Wii U, it felt like the next thing for the 3DS. Like especially if you were able to, well, actually, yeah, because you can play it on TV, and there are also additional things like below. So it was like the next 3DS type of deal, and now it feels like they're taking a step back, just to get more of the classic feel to it, but except make it portable as well. Mm-hmm. I guess the only way they could possibly incorporate it so you could play it on 3DS, 2DS, and on a Switch. Is if one you could just say like fuck the bottom screen, we're just gonna just keep it top screen and it'll just be a lower resolution, it's whatever. Mm-hmm. Or they do something.
Most things it would just be a map, and
like some kind of
that
update,
would appease everybody.
Something that like is incorporated into the cartridge that recognizes like what it's being played on. If it's a Switch, it's like okay, this is the interface that I want to play on the Switch versus like 3DS and 2DS. Okay, there's an additional screen. I'm going to place this and this like down there, so it's easier for people to see the gameplay and distinguish it from like selecting items on the touchscreen, something like that. Because like they both have both have screens and they also have touch functionality to it. So if they somehow like worked around that, I mean, it'd probably be a bit pricey just to figure out how to like incorporate that. But if they were to do that, that'd be interesting to see. I don't know how it like correlate as far as like the market, as far as how the 3DS is going to fare if it's going to be compared to the Switch, because they feel like two separate things at the moment. So although it's weird because of the recent release of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and there's still Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS, you can pretty much see it as a smaller port to it, minus the zero gravity.
The exact reason you and I had that big long discussion last night on why I hate Mario Kart 8 Deluxe so much.
Are we going to do a separate discussion on that, or no? I don't think so. But yeah, I guess. Well, we understand as far as like why the new 2DS XL exists is because they're supportive of like their handhelds / the Switch, which is partially handheld as well. So they're gonna keep pushing for that market, and I really like how they're going about doing that too. And unfortunately, they had to kill the Wii and the Wii U just to let this like be its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe if they're going that route, then they're just simply trying to line everything just right. So we have the 2DS, 3DS, and the Switch as like their main like console line, if anything. And then of course mobile games is just like a separate thing.
Because hell, even what's it called? Even the GameCube was able to play
Game Boy Advance
games.
That was crazy. Yeah, now that you think about it, it's kind of the same idea too. Although,
because if you buy the $25, $50 adapter for the GameCube, you don't need to spend $100 for a Game Boy.
Game Boy Advance, you buy the games, or if you have the games, you just plug it in there.
But people still bought it, even though it was a much cheaper option to just get the adapter. People still went and bought the handheld games.
Yeah, I'll have to really think about.
And yeah, you could be like, well, they're more your handheld. You could take them out and whatnot. The problem with the Switch is you can only take it out for so long.
That's true.
It has what, like an hour and a half of battery life off the stand?
Mm-hmm. Depends on like what game it is.
Yeah. But generally like an hour to 2 hours.
3 hours sometimes. Breath of the Wild is 3 hours roughly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I think maximum 6 of whatever it is.
And then with like the Game Boy, well, with the 3DS and the 2DS, you could play for about 10, 12 hours.
Yeah.
So one's definitely a lot more portable than the other.
But I don't know. I kind of don't really know otherwise, like outside of like the scope of like where like the 3DS and the Switch will be later down the line. But I think we've already established that like this is probably why 2DS is coming out with their new thing, is because like they're very much so still supportive of like new like games coming out, despite the Switch like being where it is. And at the moment, doesn't seem like it's going to try to do that backwards compatibility type of deal with the 3DS. But if they do that, that'll be very interesting to see. In the meantime, it seems like they'll still remain separate entities.
Yeah, it does. If the cartridges don't fit with each other, then it automatically just can't be done.
Yeah,
they'd have to create the console anew with all the cartridges anew.
They would have to make like a new 3DS that completely like works with the Switch in a way, kind of like how
it either had to have a second port for the Switch games, or they'd have to make it incompatible with the old 3DS cartridges.
Though it is possible. I mean, you can, for example, like with Smash Brothers, you can use your 3DS like console as a controller for the Smash Brothers Wii U. So it's definitely much so possible to like bring the connection there. Well, we'll just have to see. Oh, okay. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for that conversation. Oh, it was only like 20 minutes or something like that.
That was only 20 minutes?
Last one was like 30 minutes.
Wow.
All right. So, a lot of speculation. We'll just have to see and find out. I kind of am interested in getting my hands on 2DS XL. That's probably be the question at the end of the day. Should we get it? I don't know if I would because I have a 3DS XL.
If you already have a 3DS, don't.
Just don't.
If you have a standard 2DS, it would be a better investment.
Probably be worth an upgrade, yeah. It's like...
It's definitely worth the upgrade because it's just...
It's like $60, $70 more, but it's like, yeah.
It's so hard to carry around the 2DS.
Although our friend DJ has proven that you can put it in your pocket.
Well, yeah.
you can't put it in...
I put it in my pocket.
I put it in my pocket. Doesn't mean I like that, but it's okay. It's a weird thing. I do like... the form of the 2DS. I feel like it's much better to grip than like your standard 3DS, 3DS XL, etc. Just because like how especially the shoulder buttons are, because like they just like they naturally wrap around like that, so it's just like a better grip. But I understand like how they want to like keep the form factor, the ergonomic folding, because that's an easy way to like protect the screen, for example. And they can do a lot more as far as the design if they keep it folded, so they can like further build on like it and modernize it. And that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it's kind of more of an aesthetic, and as well as like finding ways to like increase the space.
With the size that the 2DS was, it definitely wasn't smart. Because there's like, yeah, we have room for stuff, but when it's meant to be a mobile thing, compactness definitely overrides ergonomic design. You can look at the Game Boy SP as prime example. That thing was far from ergonomic.
Yeah.
But you loved it because it was like super portable. It was like the size of of like a double stack of Post-it notes.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, that's the best way about it. It's like you clamp it and it's like boom, you just put it in your pocket or backpack or whatever. It's fine. So yeah, I think that's like the smart way of going about like having like dual screens still, just having it like fold within itself. It's kind of like a laptop. That's what makes it portable. So yeah,
portability over ergonomic design when it comes to a mobile device as opposed to a home console. With home console, big, bulky, ergonomic, however you want it, because you're not taking it anywhere.
Yeah, Switch is kind of different because it's something you can actually fit like in your backpack, at least a bag, not your pocket, but a bag.
You can fit most consoles in a bag.
That's true, but this one's like a little much smaller scale, so you can definitely fit it. Like, there's less of an excuse to take it anywhere, and not to mention you can just like play it at any time. But otherwise, like, unless you like have one of those Xbox like laptop things that you can open up, it has its own screen that's like plugged in.
I had that for the original Xbox, loved it, played the hell out of it.
I'd probably like that for the Xbox One, to be honest.
It wouldn't work.
It probably would not work. It's just like
the vents are on the top.
The vents are on the top, and also on the sides too. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a separate discussion entirely. But yeah, we're gonna end it here. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. #bye. Always abuse me. Whatever, do.